I feel like with the recent political climate as it is, it has kind of brought to light and exposed a lot of the deeper places of certain people's hearts. What's up, guys? How you doing? I'm Paul.
I'm Morgan.
In today's video, we got a topic that it's like a smaller topic that leads into a much bigger topic.
But first, make sure you subscribe and click that notification bell. We make videos on culture and social issues from a Christian perspective to help you have hope
and be free. And guys, we're saying this with a lot of sincerity. Like, thank you so much to our patrons who have stuck with us. We knew when we were making the shift from love and dating to culture and social issues that we were going to lose some of our viewers, some of our patrons, because this is heavier stuff. And we're just being honest with where we're at. We feel like tackling this stuff is important. And so we are extremely thankful for the patrons that have stuck with us and continue to support us and believe in what we're continuing to do on this channel. You guys are the MVPs. Thank you all.
Yes, thank you guys so much. If you want to become a patron, go to patreon.com/Paulandmorganshow.
Morgan, start us off by reading the famous / infamous Lecrae tweet.
I never get on my Twitter, so if you guys follow me on there, I'm sorry, because I never get on there.
And that's the funny thing is you don't get on. I get on quite often, but you are the one who found this jewel, this beauty.
Well, I found it because it's becoming a thing now where people share their tweets on Instagram, and I'm on Instagram a lot. So Feucht, I actually have no idea if that's how you say his last name. He retweeted Lecrae's.
Okay, and
responded to it.
And he's been in the spotlight because he's leading these Let us worship around the country in places that have been having riots and stuff. So that's awesome what he's doing.
Yeah, so he shared Lecrae's tweet and he responded to it. So I'll read what Lecrae said first, then I'll read his response.
Love it.
Lecrae said, "What if the Christians who want to reduce the number of abortions, supported funding health care for women, dealt with the systemic racism that creates poverty for women of color, and addressed the income gap between white people and people of color?"
So,
good thoughts.
There you have it. That's the tweet. Just let that sit for a second before you just get caught up into the responses, blah, blah, blah. Just think on that for a moment. I think the way the tweet begins, the way he chooses to word it is quite interesting. Read the very just opening.
What if the Christians who want to reduce the number of abortions...
What if the Christians... There's already, in my opinion, some... What if the Christians... Like, kind of putting these Christians almost like taking himself out of the body of believers in a sense. And you guys, hey, this is just my opinion. What if the Christians who... And then the next part... want to reduce the number of abortions. Want to reduce. And I guess, that's fair. He can use that word. We want to end abortion.
Yeah, reduce is not the right word to
we
use,
want to end.
buddy.
We want to end this awful thing that has become so acceptable in our country. But anyway.
So then Sean's response was, "Should murder be legalized as long as we feel we are working to reduce the occurrence of it? This is a very flawed argument. Stand for life. Period." Sean is a bold man. He is bold, on fire, bold. Like, he's not gonna shy back from any. Hello, Scrooge.
You are the man. Sean, come on. Come on the show. There's a few other interesting tweet responses to Lecrae that I want to get to. So let's just jump into a few of those.
Well, let me just say real quick.
Yes, please, madame.
Lecrae's tweet, don't get us wrong. We hear what he's saying. But I think the way he wrote it out and the way he just came off in this tweet was just you're separating yourself from these people who are trying to not just reduce abortion, end abortion. You're separating yourself from these people saying they've got it wrong. Let me tell you how it's really done. And I don't know, it just seems weird and strange, and it's Lecrae, what?
Well, I would venture to say, and you guys comment what you think, that this is indicative of even a bigger thing going on with Lecrae.
Yes.
And if you guys have been following Lecrae and others, I feel like with the recent political climate as it is, it has kind of brought to light and exposed a lot of the deeper places of certain people's hearts.
Yeah.
And I'm not here to bash Lecrae, but I've seen some of the comments he's made, some of the directions, like it feels like he's gone over the past 4 or 5 years. And it appears like he is getting caught up in the kind of social justice, these good causes that are very man-made, but often void of God and void of biblical truth.
There are some things that you can make righteous judgment on. And Lecrae recently came out with a song with John Legend. And if you guys know anything about John Legend, he is not a man of God. I am just so confused. Why, as a believer, as a musician, would you collaborate with someone, like do a full-on song with them, a music video with them, when they don't believe anything that you believe? They don't walk in the same way that you walk your life. They don't strive for holiness, for righteousness.
I would venture personally to not be as like up in arms about that. I think as musicians, there can be great musicians outside of the faith that you can invite them in on songs. I don't see that as being as big a thing. I think it could be indicative of Lecrae inviting in, just kind of moving in this direction of being socially acceptable and being kind of soft on sin, wrapped up in kind of the Hollywood stuff. I'm wanting to fit in with these people. I'm wanting to invite them into my songs. And I think that probably is happening.
I mean, that's like Lauren Daigle asking Lady Gaga to be in her song.
Well, we've seen that some. We saw Tasha Cobbs inviting Nicki Minaj onto her worship album. And when I heard that, I was like, okay, maybe this means that Nicki Minaj is kind of coming around. I wasn't totally against it, but then when you see, okay, it doesn't appear that Nicki Minaj is coming around at all, let us know in the comments. Christians inviting very secular artists, not the secular that are maybe like trying to figure it out, the Justin Biebers, legit the most secular artists that don't seem to have a desire for the Lord. Christians having those people and collabing with them, good idea or not? I'm open to hearing your all's thoughts.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And that's not me saying we can't minister to those people, because yes, by all means, they need to be loved and poured into and minister, but that doesn't mean you bring them onto your godly projects.
Well, and when, in the case of Lecrae, when your message, your life song, so to speak, seems to be becoming watered down, and then you have a John Legend on your track, it becomes a little more concerning.
Yeah. Anyways, back on track.
And this specific tweet is not new for Lecrae. He came out in support of Stacey Abrams, who was a pro-choice candidate out of Georgia. Obviously, the issue of abortion is not as black and white to him.
Yeah.
So let's read a few more responses. Lecrae, I love you, but you've bought into the strategies of a fallen world to address what only Christ can resolve. Christians shouldn't seek to reduce abortions, but save the lives of innocent, conceived human beings from being murdered. More money doesn't fix this sin. And then right underneath that, he added, if there are specific examples of systemic racism, then call it out and fight to end it. But the reality is, if millions of dollars were given to women in poverty, they would still have illicit sex outside of marriage and seek to terminate their pregnancy. That's the core issue. And man, I feel like he
It's intense, but that's really good.
That's really good.
Yeah.
And it's cool to see that that's the top comment, top reply on Lecrae's tweet. Guys, I don't think any Christian is against helping women in tough situations, helping newborn babies coming into tough situations.
To provide ways for them to have the child, to help them through the adoption process, the foster care process.
To improve foster care, that's great. That is great. So there's that side, and then there's the side of this baby's gonna have it rough, so let's kill them.
There's this strange, weird idea or lie or whatever it is going around that like, oh, well, Christians are pro-baby, but they're not pro-life, because if they were, they would adopt more, or they would try to help women more, or whatever. And I'm just like, I grew up, when I was 15, I found a place that was a pro-life refugee crisis center. It was incredible, and like, they had so many resources. Like, they were for women who were trying to decide what they were going to do, abortion, abortion, adoption, keep the child for them. And there are places like that everywhere. There really are. But like, we don't ever talk about them for some reason, but they're incredible.
The people who tend to really jump on those arguments, you're for babies inside the womb, but not for outside. They're saying that, and just like you're saying, they're often ignorant to what is actually going on, what people are doing. They're just throwing that out there, ultimately to justify their position on killing babies. Because they don't know. They don't know if you're volunteering at these places, if you're putting up money to these places, if you're going and visiting orphanages. And even if you are, I don't feel like it's ever going to be enough for them because, again, that's not their central issue. It's them trying to justify their position.
There are women who will go stand out abortion clinics and say, if you need to come live with me and I will help you during this pregnancy. I will help you once the baby is born. Like, there are people who are doing that stuff, like, but we've got it in our minds that like none of that's happening, and it is.
Yes, so Lecrae is kind of playing on that, saying, you guys are being hypocrites because where is this happening? I'm not seeing it. Lecrae, just because you're not seeing it does not mean it's not happening. And you're also obviously bringing the systemic racism into your tweet and other things. But let's just get back to the central issue, which is babies are being aborted. Yes, this other stuff, there's a place for it. Don't be getting on people that are fighting specifically to end abortion. I saw someone on Facebook share this post by Jimmy Winfrey. He responded to Lecrae's tweet and said, we don't want to simply reduce abortions. We want to abolish the legality of child murder. And I love that. We want to abolish the legality of it. He says, can you imagine if Christian abolitionists had made this same weak argument about simply reducing the number of slaves? And that's heavy.
Yeah.
That's a heavy point. But think about that for a second. Because we could apply this. Because Lecrae says, those who want to reduce blah, 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 what if you blah, blah, blah? The reducing argument, what if we said, well, we just want to reduce the number of slaves. We want to reduce, and this gets really heavy, you guys, but the number of Jews being exterminated by Hitler back during that time period. Like, that would be ridiculous. If you really want to reduce that, why don't you try blah, blah, blah? No, let's
end it.
Abolish the legality of it. Or as Sean Feucht says, should murder be legalized as long as we feel we are working to reduce the occurrence of it? These things being reduced, no, there's some things that need to end. So Lecrae's little reduce thing there just doesn't sit well with me.
No. You know, I've had conversations with people who say that their desire is to see abortion end or be reduced, but they believe that the way to that is through sex ed classes, through all of these things that, I'll sit here and say I don't agree with those things. I don't believe that that's how ending abortion should come to pass.
But that's a big position right now.
Yes.
You guys want to see abortions reduced?
Okay, start handing out condoms and birth control in elementary school.
And start educating the crud out of them.
Kindergarten they should be learning.
Elementary up.
How to have safe sex. That's what's important.
But stay off making them illegal. Don't touch that.
I believe, the church needs to stinking rise up. The church needs to be pouring into parents who are pouring into their children, who are teaching their children how to walk a holy, righteous life. So that they're not straying off, having sex before marriage, getting pregnant, and like deciding, oh, this is a terrible mistake. I need to get rid of this child, this human being. It is a parent's responsibility to teach your child what sex is and when it is acceptable, when it is beautiful, and when it is disastrous and causes issues.
We do recognize there is an argument for, these other things. I hope we're not coming across saying none of that has validity.
No, I mean, that was my point in saying, yes, I believe there are things that need to happen to help end abortion, not just making it illegal.
Not just having a pro-life president, or not just overturning Roe versus Wade, or changing the laws to make abortions illegal. But we would say, can that be recognized as a good central starting block? That abortion would be frowned upon by our country and by our country's leaders. And I saw someone say a lot of people take the law of the land, take the law given by our government as kind of their morality. I'm not saying that's a good thing or not, but they just do. So if abortion was universally illegal and it was really talked bad about and said this is wrong by our higher ups in government, it would affect a lot of people. But when it's a wishy-washy thing, or when it is legal, that's going to be, in many people's minds, what is okay or not. I think we're seeing so many Christians watering down the gospel so that they can be relatable. And I think that's probably going on in Lecrae's life. I want to be relatable to non-believers, John Legend, and to his crew. So I'm going to have him on, and I'm going to actually show them that I'm not that much different. Let's approach this from a worldly perspective. See, guys? And it's like, don't go down that path, you guys. Heaven is sifting and separating, and it's not going to be any use to non-believers if you're lukewarm.
God doesn't call us to be relatable. He calls us to be righteous. I was reading today in Galatians, you can't please man and Jesus. If you're pleasing man, you're not pleasing Jesus. And if you're pleasing Jesus, you're not pleasing man. Which one do you want to please? I want to please the Father. And because of that, we get a lot of persecution on here. That's going to come. So if you are scared to death of being unliked, unloved, even from your close friends, I'm just telling you, it's not worth your time. Like, the only thing worth your time is the Father. Getting in his presence, striving for holiness, striving for righteousness. Who cares what those people think? Who cares what the atheist down the street thinks about you? You keep living, you keep being a light, you keep loving, you keep being kind, but you keep striving for righteousness and pleasing the Father, not man.
And guys, I like to remind people, if you think Jesus was this sweet, non-offensive figure, read his testimony, read Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and you'll pretty quickly see, whoa, there was like a lot to Jesus. He wasn't after being non-offensive.
He was not. He was sassy. He had fire in him. All right, guys, comment below and let us know what you thought of this topic. What are your thoughts on Lecrae's tweets?
Guys, we know this is a big topic. It's a big topic, and I told Morgan before the video, I'm not totally sure what I'm going to say. Like, yes, I'm hearing voices that I respect and feel like they line up with the Bible, and I'm letting that influence me. I'm sharing that. I'm in the Word. But there are still areas in regards to these social issues that I'm not totally clear on, that I don't have totally figured out. So please, let's keep the discussion going in the comments section.
Give this video a thumbs up if you appreciated us talking about this specific topic.
All right, guys, you know we love you. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll catch you again very soon. Have hope.
And be free. He's not gonna shy back.